I agree with Netanyahu. Before you turn off this video, or perhaps give me a dislike, hear me out, because I do not support Israel in its war in Palestine. But I agree with Netanyahu, especially what he said in this clip.
The core of the conflicts in the Middle East is the battle between modernity and early primitive medievalism.
I agree that the war in the Middle East is essentially a war of ideas. And the war of ideas is the modernity, the modern lifestyle, versus Islam. It's not the primitive society, as he called it, or the primitive lifestyle, or the backwards, barbaric lifestyle. It's Islam. This is what the war is about. So let's look at the claim. We need to first understand which value system is superior. So is really modernity the answer? Is really modernity and secularism, or perhaps democracy, better than anything that we find in Islam? And now we have to look, and this is the conversation that we should be having, because we're not having this conversation. People tend to dismiss Islam as something barbaric, something archaic, but we can't use that argument because democracy is more archaic than Islam. Democracy is older. So the argument that something is older doesn't hold. Why is modernity better than anything that Islam offers? This is the debate we should be having. And people are scared of political Islam, people are scared of Sharia, people are scared of the real implications of Islam, because it's not just a religion, it's a complete set of laws, judiciary system, it's a set of values for your family, how to live your life, how to have sex, how to raise your kids, everything. It includes everything. And then how to have a relationship with your God. Where does liberalism come from? Where does modernity come from? Where do these ideas come from? The Age of Enlightenment? What is that? If we look at the fathers of liberalism, or the founding principles of liberalism, which is not to harm anyone, which is promote peace, democracy, which is do as you please until you harm other people, which is to increase your pleasure. If we look at these principles and if we compare them, if they lead to human happiness, we find a strong contradiction between these core value principles of modernity and the true human happiness that humans are longing for. And liberalism oftentimes focuses on external stimulations to improve the human happiness, because human happiness is tied to having more products and services at your disposal, while Islam is more tied to having more spiritual fulfillment, the inner peace, through your relationship with God and practicing your religion, which means praying 5 times a day, fasting, going to a mosque, praying, and stuff like that. So it's a complete different set of values. And which of these is more fulfilling to a human being? Well, go and ask a Muslim if he's more happy, the practicing Muslim, if he's more happy or content with his life than somebody living in the West, living in sort of like a hedonistic life principle, John Locke type of style, where they just chase their desires, they just have multiple sexual partners, they are engaged, they watch pornography, they don't really have strong family relationships. They drink alcohol. Look at these two people and see which one is more happy, which improves human happiness and which doesn't really improve it. And it's all based on controlling your own desires. And in modernity, this is something you shouldn't do. You should always express yourself. In Islam, you should control and preserve your own self, your own soul. And we get to the bottom of things. We can talk about why Islam is true, or what constitutes a God or set of morality. But if we just look into the founding principle of liberalism and modernity, we find contradictions. We even find that the basis for liberalism is based on the primordial state of nature, the argument that we need to engage in a social contract with the state. And therefore, once we engage in a social contract, we will increase our happiness, and because otherwise it's a mayhem. But if we look into that claim, it's all mythical, it's based on nothing, and the entire idea of liberalism is based on nothing as well, because the founding fathers of liberalism were all practicing Christians, such as John Locke. To not take religion seriously is a mistake. Because I studied international relationships and I sort of understood the basics, but I never looked deeply into ideas of democracy, freedom, and really unpacked them. Because we always assume that those ideals are more superior to anything out there. How can there be anything better? But if we have a deep philosophical discussions on the meaning of freedom, meaning of expressing yourself through sexuality, through anything you want, democracy, all these things can be basically disproved. And so this is the problem, because the main values are there taken as granted, or we're presupposing that these values are somehow superior. But if we deconstruct them, we realize this is not superior at all. And I'm not saying Islam is superior, but to me, as a Muslim, Islam is sent from a divine. It's a divine guidance, and it works because I've implemented it in my life, and I've seen changes. I'm not talking about political Islam. I'm talking about your personal relationship and practically, accepting the deen, the religion in your own life. I'm just getting married today in 1 hour, so I'm really going full speed into this. And in terms of all the political laws and judiciary system of Islam, this is a debate for that we can have forever. But I just wanna refocus the conflict, because it's not about Gaza or these things. It's an ideological conflict between the Western values, the Western societies, and Islam. It's not about Palestine only. It's Islam. Why do Arab states or countries support Palestine? Why does the West support Israel? It's not because of, if you would just be unbiased and you would look at the number of murdered people in Palestine versus Israel, but then you sort of look at those people as inferior, you look at them like these are crazy fundamentalists, Arab, Islamic people, let's get rid of them because they love Islam. Islam is evil and it leads to violence and that leads to terrorism and all these things. They don't look at, wait a second, there's 1,000 years plus of Islamic history that was not violent as they try to portray it. And we can study that. So my message is, hey, I agree with you, Netanyahu, but you have to prove to me that your values are superior. Thank you for that. And if you agree with human rights, what you're doing in Gaza contradicts your own definition. So peace out. I'll see you next time, guys. And alhamdulillah. Assalamu alaikum.